Hey guys, Script here with another video, and this is just another article that just shows us they still don't get it. You're getting this vibe now from all these people that are like sequel fans, Star Wars sequel fans, that we just have to, the rest of us that are critical need to just get over it. Get over the fact that The Last Jedi is a terrible movie. But what they don't understand is it's not just a terrible movie. If it was just a terrible movie, you probably could move past it. But it's the way in which it's terrible that they don't seem to understand. So I want to read this article. This is by Zach Zagranis. And I don't think Zach gets it, but let's just see here. I didn't love Star Wars The Last Jedi, he says, when it came out almost 7 years ago. If I'm being honest, I still don't really like it. What I hate even more than The Last Jedi, though, is people talking about how much they hate The Last Jedi. It's hard for me to say this, but guys, and the fans I'm addressing are mostly guys, it's time to get over Episode 8. Is it mostly guys? Women, let me know in the comment section. Are more of you just into The Last Jedi? And if so, why? It's time to get over Episode 8. It's not about whether or not people are over it or not. It's just we think it sucks and we're not going to just change our opinion. It's not about getting over or not. There's lots of movies I think suck. I'm not just all of a sudden now going to be like, no, they don't suck because a bunch of people like them. Every time someone makes any sort of positive social media post about the movie, the trolls come out in full force. Worst movie ever. They declare like a legion of comic book guy clones. If you're going to post something on social media, like for example, I use Twitter. If you don't know, it's the same handle, Script Trooper at Twitter. I don't post something on Twitter and anticipate either no reaction or all positive, right? I don't post something and expect everybody to just agree with me. It's social media. If you're going to post something in public, then the public is going to respond the way that they feel like they're responding. And the other side of this, and I'm sure that this person who's writing this article knows this, that a lot of those guys, and I'm not going to name any names, we all know, those of us who are on Twitter, post constantly about how great all the new Star Wars stuff is that most people don't like. And they do that on purpose because with Twitter, to get paid, you just need engagements. So if you get a certain amount of engagements or a certain amount of views on your post in a 3-month period, you then become monetized. And then the more engagements and the more views on your post you get, the more ads you get, and therefore the more money and revenue that you accrue. So a lot of these guys, they're just posting, they don't say any details about why they like something. They just say it's the best. Kylo Ren versus Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi was the best lightsaber sequence ever, or one of the best lightsaber sequences ever. And then that's it. They never explain why. Which tells me they don't even know if they like it, because they never say why they like it. They just say that they like it, but they're engagement farming, so they don't care if they're getting negative feedback. Because as long as they get engagements, they make money off of Twitter. So I have no sympathy for you posting something in public and then the public responding however they feel like, especially when you're monetized and you're making money off of it, and all you do is just post stuff and don't even explain why you stand the way you stand on a particular issue. So no, I don't feel bad for them, and I don't care, and they're gonna get run through, and they're gonna get called the worst movie ever, and too bad. Other gems include referring to Rian Johnson as Ruin Johnson, and furiously typing "not my Luke" in all caps. Well, I mean, if you have a problem with "not my Luke," Zach, why don't you take it up with Mark Hamill, who said it's "not my Luke" and called him Jake Skywalker? Why don't you take it up with the actor who played Luke Skywalker? So again, this is another one of these, it's the fans' fault kind of mentalities. The actor himself coined the "not my Luke." The actor himself coined the Jake Skywalker. And as far as Ruin Johnson, I think it's funny because he did ruin Luke and he ruined the sequels. After Force Awakens was terrible too, but you could still kind of have maneuvered your way around that and made the sequels decent. But after The Last Jedi, it was over. And I get it. I really do. I used to be right there with them. Well, except for the Ruin Johnson bit. That insult is about as clever as calling Obama Obummer. I disagree. I think Ruin Johnson is clever. I think it's funny because he ruined it. So it's Ruin Johnson. But something happened in years since The Last Jedi first divided the Star Wars fandom. I realized that nobody cared how I felt about the movie. Well, yeah, if you're writing articles and we're reading them, then people do care to some degree. Disney wasn't going to retcon it no matter how many change.org petitions were created. And the fans that did like the movie, and there are a lot, weren't going to suddenly find fault in the film just because someone online was whining. Yeah, so shut up, guys. So if you don't like it, don't say anything. Just don't say anything then. Just don't say anything, because they're not going to retcon it anyway. No, if the movie sucks, the movie sucks. We're not just going to all of a sudden say it's good. But I think what Zach here is implying is that we should just be quiet about it. Stop talking about it. Okay, then tell the shill sites and the stan sites accounts to stop posting about it then. They know exactly what they're doing. They're engagement farming like everybody else. So, no. If they're going to keep posting about how great it is, then us on the other side are going to post about how bad it is. Now, having said that, I don't generally respond to most of them. I don't give them the engagement they're looking for. It's very, very rare. Unless I see some post that's just absolutely ridiculous, then I might engage with it. But I generally don't do that, and you can look at my Twitter. There's proof of that. But if people want to, they have every right to. It's a public forum. If you don't want them to respond, you want them to be silent, then tell these people to shut up too then. Nobody's allowed to talk about it then, Zach. And then everyone will be happy in knowing that The Last Jedi sucked, but nobody talks about it. All I was doing was spreading negativity, and for what? The thrill of arguing online with people I don't know. That's up to you, man. Not everybody does that. I don't do that. I rarely argue with people online. I mostly just ignore them. I have many reply guys that reply to my posts. I generally don't interact with them. I just ignore them. Very rarely, once in a blue moon, will I actually interact with them. Recently, I saw a tweet, or is it an X-seat now? I have no idea, mentioning that Disney was re-releasing all the numbered Star Wars films into theaters this May. The first comment on the post was, I don't know what you're talking about. There are only 6 Star Wars movies. Really? He says. Yeah. Yes, a lot of us feel that way. Too bad, Zach. Too bad. A lot of people feel that way. I actually posted about that. I said, I'm curious about how many people are going to stick around for 7, 8, and 9. Or are they going to watch the first 6 and leave? Yeah, I posted that because I think a lot of people are going to do that. They're going to leave after the first 6. And I'm sorry, Zach, but that's just the way it is. People don't like the sequels. And whether Disney is going to de-canonize them or not, they still suck. So no one's going to, the people that like them are going to stay, and the ones that don't are going to leave. Like, who cares? No, you must be silent, because it bugs me that I see tweets about it. Now that we're just going to straight up pretend The Last Jedi and the other Star Wars sequels don't exist? Well, no, it's being facetious. Of course we know they exist. We're just joking and saying, oh, well, I'm not going to bother watching them, or I'm going to pretend they don't exist, even though I know they exist. Like, this is just how people, because they're terrible movies, and fans wonder why our fandom has a reputation for toxicity. Zach, was it toxic when Daisy Ridley said that the Last Jedi was the most divisive Star Wars film? Was it that toxic? Was it toxic when she said that the sequel trilogy in general was divisive? Is it okay when she says it, but it's not okay when fans say it? What about John Boyega? The way his character was treated, was he being toxic when he said that they had no plan for Finn? They had all these plans for Poe and Rey and all the other characters, but not him. And then he heavily alluded to the fact that it's because he's black. Is that divisive? Was he dividing things? Was it toxic? Was Mark Hamill being toxic when he called him Jake Skywalker, Zach? See how everything's about attacking other fans. So he's sitting here saying that fans are the problem, and he's a fan attacking fans. So, Zach, are you the problem? You don't have to like everything Disney has released since buying Star Wars, but it exists and no amount of online hissy fist. Well, exactly, but we can still say that it sucks. Like, it sucks. Sorry, dude. Just like you're gonna say it's good, I'm gonna say it sucks. It's the same thing. It's engagement farming on both sides, using whatever your opinion is. So sorry. People act like Disney ruined Star Wars when George Lucas is the one who approved the infamous Star Wars holiday special. It was a Star Wars holiday special. It's terrible. No one says that it's good, but that doesn't ruin Star Wars. This isn't an episodic film that destroyed lore. This is just a stupid holiday special on TV. George is also the one who added Vader's doofy, no. Yeah, and then that sucked. And no one likes that. Yep, but that's not ruining the character of Darth Vader because he said no once in a dumb way. By the way, the French version, he actually sounds a lot like Darth Vader. There's different versions in different countries. The American one is atrocious. I 100% agree. But him saying no in a dumb way isn't the same as completely tearing the heart out of Luke Skywalker fans and stomping it on the ground with what you did with his character. Vader saying no in a dumb way is not the same as Rey instantly knowing how to do Jedi mind tricks and defeating a 20-year trained veteran in the Force. who just threw her up against a tree in the Force, no problem, and then she somehow defeats him. Okay? That's the problem. Right? That's the problem. Vader saying no isn't somehow Palpatine's returned with absolutely no explanation. We're going to spend the next 10 years making shows that you spend your money on to figure out why the heck Palpatine was even there in the first place in The Rise of Skywalker, which diminishes Anakin's sacrifice and just makes... Oh, and saying no isn't the same as making everything that the OT stories did completely moot, because there's an Empire right away in Episode 7, and everything Luke, Leia, and Han did was absolutely completely pointless, and everything was given to Rey, including defeating Palpatine. In fact, everything Anakin did was everything everybody did was completely pointless so that Rey could save the day. That isn't the same as Vader going, no, in a dumb way. Sorry, Zach, it's not the same. But that's a really good false equivalency on your part. No from Revenge of the Sith, the latest official version of Return of the Jedi, but please do go on about how Kathleen Kennedy is the devil. Again, that's a non-comparison, I'm sorry, but it's false equivalency. The thing with The Last Jedi and everything else Disney Star Wars is that just because you didn't like it doesn't mean that nobody did. There has to be a reason why nobody ever reacts to The Last Jedi with meh, it was okay. Because it wasn't. The movie is either a fan's favorite Star Wars movie or their most hated, with very little wiggle room either way. But, Zach, there are a lot of evidences to prove that the vast majority of people don't like The Last Jedi. I would probably call it an 80 to 20% ratio. And we know that because the action figures didn't sell. They were all over dollar stores. So that tells you that people hated it. Even Luke Skywalker from The Last Jedi's action figure was at the dollar store. So what does that tell you? We all know about the Rose Ticos. Yes, sure, there's some people that really love it, and those people have absolutely awful taste in movies, and they can overlook gigantic plot holes, destruction of characters, Mary Sue's. There are people that can overlook Rey lifting like 50 to 100 gigantic boulders, having learned about the Force 2 days ago and having 2 lessons with Luke. Dumb people can overlook that. People can overlook Rey knowing how to use a lightsaber better than Ben. Right? They can overlook that. Even though she had absolutely no idea how to do it. She just knew. And then they explain it in a book years later that, she downloaded Kylo's training. What? So even if she did, how does that make her stronger than him? Right? Yes, people can overlook those things. Just because if they see a lightsaber, they crap their pants and they love it. That's okay. I don't hate those people, but that is not the majority. That is a very small group of people. Keep in mind, another piece of evidence, Solo comes out. Han Solo. You're going to see an origin movie, or at least a semi-origin movie, a story about Han Solo. Arguably the most beloved character. Some people love him more than Luke. He's like up there at the very top echelon. It's like he's with Vader, Leia, and Luke in terms of the top 4 characters in Star Wars, which makes him probably in the top 10 most popular characters of any movie of all time. And here's a movie about him before the sequel, or before the original trilogy. You get to see him as a young man. What was he doing? And it loses money? That's a reaction to The Last Jedi. Of course it is. Of course that's a reaction to The Last Jedi. Nobody's not going to go watch a Solo movie. It's Han Solo. Unless they're super ticked off at Disney and they don't like what they're doing and they don't like what they did to Luke and they don't want to give them their money. That's what happened. I'm old enough to remember when the prequels came out and everyone was claiming there were only 3 Star Wars movies. Some people still do. Some people still do claim there's only 3 Star Wars movies. There are a lot of people that respond to my tweets. The prequels are kind of meh to me, but at least they're not, lore-breaking, character-destroying films. They're just not very well put together films. But there are people that still only think there's 3 movies. I've been a prequel apologist from the very beginning, and even if I didn't love the movies, I could see that kids did. Children walked out of The Phantom Menace feeling the way I did the first time I watched Return of the Jedi on VHS. Did they? Maybe. I would argue they didn't. I would argue they liked it, but they probably didn't like it as much as you liked, the original trilogy. We will never know, but that's fine. The prequels aren't, again, they're not destroying characters. They're just kind of crappily written in some areas. There's certain things that are kind of corny. The humor in the prequels is not very good at all. There's a little bit of good stuff with Obi-Wan and Anakin, but Most of it is silliness. But having said that, yeah, a lot of people did like the prequels. There's nothing wrong with that. Now those kids are grown, and what happened? The entire geek community reevaluated the prequels because suddenly a whole generation was singing their praises. Guys, as much as I hate to admit it, there were kids who felt the same way about The Last Jedi. No, there isn't. No, there isn't. There's not. There's not. What is in The Last Jedi that's appealing to kids? The horse bunnies? Okay. This is the implication that a lot of Disney shills make that, give it time and people are going to start loving the prequels. Or, excuse me, the sequels. Because, look, over time, the next generation grew up and the prequels are beloved. The prequels are not beloved. They're not. They're liked by some, but generally speaking, they're viewed as okay. Most people are not, praising the prequels as some sort of gems. They're not. There are some people that are. But the vast majority of people just see them as okay. That's just the way it is. And if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments section. Feel free to prove that wrong. But I don't think the vast majority of people are thinking the prequels are some sort of masterpieces. Now, the Revenge of the Sith did kind of save the prequels in a lot of ways because Attack of the Clones was terribly received. And a lot of the problems with the prequels rooted in George just having way too much control, and he can't write dialogue, and he doesn't really know how to direct humans very well. He's not very good at, like some of the stuff he accepted, some of the acting he accepted and walked away was pretty bad. So, again, no, I don't think you're going to see that with The Last Jedi. It's been, 7 years? 7 years from today, it's not going to be as well received as the prequels. It's just not. And in fact, the sequels are part of why people view the prequels better than they used to. A lot of people that thought the prequels were just absolutely awful have now turned around and said, well, they're not as bad as the sequels, so I guess they're not that bad. That's where we're at. The sequels actually helped the prequels look better because of how bad they were. Because you could at least look at the prequels and say, the story is still the story. The execution, bad in many ways, but the story is still the story. It makes sense. Anakin's turn, all that stuff. It's not like they just destroyed his character or did something really, really outlandish and stupid like they did with Luke. It was just the execution was kind of dumb, right? And we could go over, there's a million things we could talk about in that respect. But the story itself still held on, whereas in the sequels, the story just gets completely obliterated and is just totally ridiculous. Look, I know you liked something from the last 10 years of Star Wars, The Mandalorian, Andor, Rebels, etc. The only thing I liked was the first season of Mandalorian was pretty cool. The second season was very meh. The third season was atrocious. Andor is a generic drama with a Star Wars skin on it. It's good. It's a good drama show, but it isn't really a Star Wars show. When you got Andor waking up in bed with a hooker, that ain't a Star Wars show. I'm sorry. That's just an adult drama, and then they slapped a Star Wars skin on it. It's pretty good in that sense, but it's not really Star Wars. It isn't. And Andor's just killing people in cold blood right at the very, very beginning, and yet he's the hero, and the good guys are the bad guys. It's not, go back and watch interviews with George Lucas talking about the very clear delineated lines of good and evil in Star Wars. This graying it is what Andor's doing, which is like a Game of Thrones style drama. So no, it's not very good in terms of Star Wars. It is good in and of itself as a drama, though. You pretend it's all woke garbage, and then you slap down 70 big ones for Jedi Survivor on your PS5. I do not have a PS5, and I am not buying Jedi Survivor. I watched the storyline of it, and it's got massive problems, continuity issues. I reviewed it on my channel. You can check that out. It's not a good game in terms of the story and the canon and the lore that it espouses. Can't we just admit that Star Wars has always had its good and bad and moved past it? Yes, but again, you still don't understand how egregious The Last Jedi is, Zach. You just don't get it. You don't understand how egregious it is. And again, Mark Hamill went on for a year before he finally did one interview just before the movie came out and said it's good. And then they go, see? Yeah, well, because he was told. He did 50 interviews before that where he hated it. Because honestly, pretending The Last Jedi doesn't exist just because you don't like it or that Luke was really Jake Skywalker is childish. No one's pretending it doesn't exist. It's just sucky and people just want to have their 6 movies. What's wrong with somebody saying, I'm ending Star Wars for me at the end of the Return of the Jedi, which is a good ending? What's wrong with that? Why do they have to hand everything to Rey and look at their OT characters as pointless and dumb? Like, I don't know how people understand how the sequels completely rendered everything that came before it utterly pointless in every possible way. Because honestly, pretending The Last Jedi doesn't exist just because you don't like it, so is it doesn't exist, or is it people bashing it in the comment section, Zach? Which is it? Like it's this article's... It's Skywalker's childish, immature, and frankly lame. The sooner people like us learn to accept that not everything from our favorite franchise is for us, the sooner we can relax and focus on the stuff we do like. It wasn't for anybody. I've said this a million times. You could have had Luke... The people that like The Last Jedi would have liked anything you did. You could have had a literal turd with a lightsaber. Like, you could have had anything, and the people that liked it would have liked it. You could have had Luke be his actual self, and those people that liked the Jake Skywalker still would have liked it. They would have liked anything. So all they really did was just alienate a whole pile of fans. That's all that they did. The sooner people like us learn to accept that not everything from our favorite franchise is for us, the sooner we can relax and focus on the stuff. There's nothing to like right now. There hasn't been anything to like in a long time. Just so we're clear, this is about Star Wars specifically. It's perfectly acceptable to keep on pretending that Rocky V doesn't exist. Okay, whatever that's supposed to mean. Anyway, so this movie, The Last Jedi, it tore Star Wars apart. It's terrible. It's just absolutely awful. And I think I made all my points here as to why. I think most of you would agree. If you don't, if you do, comment. Let me know. What do you think? If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Always helps the channel. Thank you so much for all of you that are supporting me. And you can always check out anything else on my channel. And have yourselves a really good day.